Hi everybody, how's it going? It's Jackson, and welcome back to another run-through of the Golden Vendor and the Infinite Archive File Ool items for the 21st of March. So this set here, we've got a couple of DLC helms, and a very good lead, I think, from File Ool. They are Domihaus Mask and Kjalnar's Nightmare's Mask, yeah. So, Kjalnar's Nightmare is really strong. Domihaus is also interesting. It's weird. I don't think it's very good, but it's definitely like a fascinating one to talk about. So Domihaus comes from Fuqinwitme Hold. This is a DLC dungeon from the Horns of the Reach DLC. This set, so basically you deal damage, it creates a ring. The ring deals both flame and physical damage at the same time and adds a bunch of weapon and spell damage for you. The weapon and spell damage is good, and the damage would be nice if it wasn't for this stupid fucking thing they decided where the damage only applies to the enemies who actually touch the ring. It's not anything inside the ring itself. If it was, it'd be so much better. But just because of that, it's like really limited the way you can use this effectively. It's pretty good for dragons, because naturally when you stand close to the AoE that the dragons produce to keep you out of underneath them, usually the ring will hit them because they have such a large hitbox. And Zaan as a set, which is probably one of the best single target monster sets in the game, doesn't work very well for dragons. At least it didn't back when I used to fight dragons. And apparently this has also been changed with dragons too, so I don't know how effective it's going to be anymore, but that was definitely a thing back in the day. Other than that, it's not going to be very good, just because it's so fucking hard to keep everything in the ring. Because naturally, melee enemies are going to want to go towards you and go out of the ring. Ranged enemies, maybe not so much. Might be a bit interesting, but it just attacking ranged enemies is not really going to be worth it enough, I think. It just feels like Grothdar, but worse, essentially. So yeah, still a very interesting set though. Something that there's not really much else aside from that. And I don't think the weapon and spell damage works for anyone else either. Because it places it on the ground, it's not around you. Kjalnar's Nightmare, on the other hand, potentially one of the best DPS monster sets in PvE. Maybe in PvP too it's pretty good. I don't think it's the best, especially for single target. I think Zaan is better, but you can use this from pretty far away. So basically, light attack, it stacks up. When the stacks are full, it hits the target for either CC or big damage. It's or. It's not both. Now, bosses aren't affected by CC, so they will always take the full damage. And also, players usually will be CC immune. Either you've stunned them with something else, or they just put CC potions on. So it's usually pretty good for dealing damage in PvE too. Oh, sorry, in PvP too. They become immune to Kjalnar's effect for 4 seconds. So that is important to note. It's not good for group play because everybody shares the same stack, and if you apply it when it's immune, it won't do any damage, obviously. So it's only really wise for at a maximum of 2 people to have it in a trial. But if you do, it's still a very strong set that's very easy to use. So yeah, a good option. Now, oh sorry, this comes from Unhallowed Grave. I can't remember off the top of my head which DLC that is. Okay, it's Horrorstorm. Unhallowed Grave. So yeah, Horrorstorm from that one. And yeah, I've already talked about Fuqinwitme Hold for that one. So the quality effects, it's a bit weird with Domihaus. It affects the weapon and spell damage, but it doesn't affect the flame and physical damage. I don't know why, but yeah, I suppose that's the thing. Because if we look at the gold Domihaus set, you can see that the flame and physical damage is the same, but the weapon and spell damage is increased. I don't know why it doesn't affect both, but yeah, the more you know. Kjalnar's Nightmare is not impacted by quality at all, which is strange. You'd think a damage set would, but I guess that makes it not as important to gold, I guess. So yeah, those are the monster sets. Definitely take a look at Kjalnar's Nightmare. Again, it is very expensive, but it's a very strong set that you can make a lot of good use out of if you understand the limitations and its strengths. Domihaus, probably forget about it personally. Okay, so jewelry, we've got 4 rings. We've got I think it's two medium. We've got one light and one heavy. So we've got a light armor set Draugrkin. This comes from Unhallowed Grave as well, so it's the light set from there. The 2 to 4 piece is weird. It's seems more like solo or PvP oriented. Not very good for PvE damage healing. Maybe okay for a healer, but the problem is that it's like, well, maybe not. It's defensive pen, so maybe not a healer, but yeah. Increase your damage done by 330. This affects all damage that you do. So what it does is, like, say you've got, like, as far as I'm aware, like, you've got, like, deal 4,200 physical damage and 968 physical damage to all enemies in the area. So both of those, it will just increase the damage they do to like 4,500 and like 1,200 respectively. And these are impacted, I think, by... I don't know exactly, but there's some buffs and debuffs that don't work. Like, I think it's like Vulnerability doesn't, but Berserk does, or it might be the other way around. It's kind of weird. It only impacts these. This set, Dragon's Appetite, and... Okay, never mind. These increase your weapons by damage. I thought that affected it too. I'm not too sure, but yeah. So it just adds a bunch of damage to everything you do, but also decreases your healing received, which is a bit rough, especially in PvP, where healing received is arguably a very strong stat that you always want to have a lot of. But yeah, in PvE, it's a decent set that I think is just mostly hurt by the 2 to 4 piece, which is, if it had like weapon, spell damage, and crit chance, I think this would be a very, very strong set. It still already is pretty good, but yeah, just not worth the effort, I think, when there's just like other sets that are easy to get. Because yeah, Unhallowed Grave, fairly long and quite advanced dungeon that that requires like a certain DLC to own. So yeah. But yeah, interesting set that it really isn't talked about as much as I think it should be, because yeah, in solo play it's actually pretty good. I think the best effect out of it is to have like really low damage over time effects, but again, I'm not sure how well that you'd be able to use those anyway. But like, the lower the damage over time is and the more frequent, the better, because yeah, it's just all damage, I'm pretty sure. Kinras Ring, this comes from Black Drake Villa. It's the medium set there, so it's got amazing 2 to 4 piece for damage dealing in PvE. Basically, the 5 pieces, every time you light and heavy attack, it adds stacks. When the stacks are full, you get Major Berserk, and your teammates around you get Minor Berserk. It's great for small stuff, like in groups of maybe 2 to 3, it's amazing, because Major Berserk, there's only specific ways to get it, and most of those ways are a bit of a pain to get naturally. This is like the most... one of the most reliable ways to get it, because it doesn't seem to have like a... It's not like those sets where once the stacks are full, you can't... it doubles the effect, but you can't gain any more stacks. It just keeps it up as long as you can light attack every 5 seconds constantly. So yeah, very strong in that case, but I will make a point that I don't think it's very good in group PvP, like in organized fights, because of a skill, or ultimate, in Sorcerer skill line, Electric Summoning Storm Atronach. So, an ally near the Atronach can activate the Charged Lightning synergy, granting nearby allies Major Berserk for 10 seconds. These, I'm not too sure what the maximum amount of people who can get this buff is. I think it's 6, but someone will have to correct me on that if I'm wrong. It might actually be less, it might be more, I'm not too sure. But this is mainly, like, part of the main reason why this set is just like not as relevant anymore. Back when it came out, it was definitely very strong, but yeah, just Storm Atronach really is the only thing standing in its way. But yeah, other than that, great. Also, two-handed sword, two-handed abilities. You get Wrecking Blow, the Svenvel. This also applies Major Berserk. Other than that, though, it's like the only weapon that I know of. I think DK now has Major Berserk from Chains, but I think that's it. I'll just double check. Oh yeah, and there's this one here, but after an enemy dies, which is not as easy to utilize as some of the other options, particularly Kinras. Yeah, Kinras, quite a strong set, just not the best you can possibly get. Yeah, just like a bit niche the way it works, but it's definitely a very strong set. Plague Doctor, very simple. This comes from Deshant, the heavy set. Do you want health? This fucking gives you heaps of health. That's all it really does. It's a very good starting set for tank in both content. Just easy to get, easy to use. It's like no strings attached. Just fucking, you want some health? Here's some health and toss some health. So, yeah. Wouldn't really use it in, like, organized stuff because there's so many other tank sets that just do so much for your team or for yourself maybe in PvP. But if you want something cheap, easy to get to start with, you can't go wrong with Plague's Doctor. It's always been pretty good, and it's always been easy to get. So, yeah. I definitely suggest having a look at this if you're looking to get into tanking for the first time and you don't want to break the bank. That being said, one more thing about Kinras. Quality doesn't impact it. Quality for Draugrkin is very odd. It impacts the damage done, but not the healing received. So the lower quality, the worse the debuff is. But yeah, both these, like this one here, quality is not dependent. So yeah, whether you want to get your quality up for Draugrkin is up to you, but yeah, wouldn't personally suggest bothering with it. Plague Doctor is the same. The quality is dependent, but you're not really going to be wanting to gold this because you're not going to be making use of it in the long run anyway. So I'd just personally just buy some lower quality jewelry from guild stores or get some yourself from the dolmens in Deshaan, because one, it's very easy to do the dolmens there. They're all close to Wayshrine, and two, incursions are a thing for the Golden Pursuit right now anyway, so you might just want to do that naturally if you do want this set. It's old and outdated these days, so. Same with Ring of the Air. So this comes from Craglorn Overland. It's a medium set. Ignore the 4-piece. I consider this to be one of the most useless stats in the game, because there are, in PvP, it's very niche. Like, giving yourself, using fucking 2 to 4 pieces which give you this means that you're not getting useful buffs for when they actually come out of stealth and attack you. So, and like, the only time people are going to mostly want to be in stealth, they're going to be invisible anyway, so this doesn't work on that sort of thing. And PvE is the same. Enemies do not go stealth, they only go invisible, which doesn't fucking work anyway. It is the most useless buff, or like, I don't know what to call it, like effect or stat that you can get in this fucking game. You get it on Wood Elves too, and I fucking despise it. I hate this thing with all my passion. So yeah, maybe there's a bit of bias there, but yeah, I just fucking hate that 4-piece. But it's basically like having a 2 to 4 piece anyway, because it gets a lot of stamina recovery. It's an interesting set because you roll to get weapon and spell damage, basically. It's every 6 seconds, so you've got to be roll dodging constantly. So PvE would not even look at it, just because you're rolling way too much. Maybe outside of like PvE solo, like difficult shit, maybe you might be roll dodging constantly, but in PvE, when you're just like in a group, you're not going to be rolling a lot. So wasting that time, because rolling, you're basically not able to use any abilities or light attack for like a second. So that's a lot of damage that you're wasting. So you're better off just using other stuff in that case. But PvP, it's a what am I saying? It's a interesting like middle ground between sustain and damage, and you do roll dodge a lot there. Now, I did say, like last weekend, there was it last weekend or the weekend before? We had Eternal Hunt, and I was talking about, like, I don't know if there's many sets that work really well with roll dodging builds. Ring of the Air might actually be a good substitute for that, and the monster set I was talking about, that also has, like, that roll dodge thing. So maybe it could work with those two. But, personally, I don't think this is very good. But it is just like a nice, interesting mix that gives you a lot of stamina, sustain, and damage. The qualities also depend on this one too. It will impact the weapon and spell damage. I don't think the radius increases with quality. Not that it matters, because again, it is fucking useless. Alright, let's take a look at Fala Ool. So we've got Entangled Brass Legs, which is a lead for the Apocryphal Jewelry Crafting Station, and Dark Stag Oil, which is a lead for the Huntsman's War Mask. Now, firstly, Entangled Brass Legs. If anyone remembers the Crucible thing from last weekend, it's basically the same thing, just copy-pasted as like a different one of the 10 leads that you can get from Infinite Archive. My feeling still stands for this one. It's ironic that you can find it here, considering that you can get it from Infinite Archive, and it's the same issue. It's the Newton's Law of bullshit, where you buy this with fortunes, you do the lead, and then you go back to Infinite Archive to get the rest, and the fucking odds are you'll do a boss and you'll get the lead again. So what I would do is, the only time I would get one of these is if you've got all 9 of the other leads, or maybe like 8, and you just want one of the last ones to complete the jewelry crafting station. In that case, maybe worth it. But considering that you're going to be spending Archive of Fortunes to look at some of this other stuff anyway, you're probably going to end up getting all this stuff before that point. Especially if you're like looking at a lot of the stuff in these stores, or like all the sets that you need to buy for a lot of fortunes. Odds are you will collect this in the long run. So I wouldn't personally spend the fortunes on these. I'd spend it on the other stuff as a priority. But yeah, it's your call. The other one is Dark Stag Oil. Now, it doesn't show up for me here because I actually just tested the world boss just to see what it's like. So this comes from the Hodrick Hunting Grounds world boss in Western Skyrim, and it's part of the Huntsman's War Mask Mythic. So this world boss over here. Now, I need to warn you, this is a fairly good option to buy because this world boss fucking sucks. It's pretty difficult to do solo. It's doable, but there's fucking constant CC. The enemies have like annoying CC like Agony, which gets you through roll dodge. And there's other shit that you want to roll dodge. They have like fear attacks that you can't block. It's all sorts of fucking annoying shit that you have to deal with. And the worst part about this world boss is the bosses are really tanky, and the bosses, when they enter their werewolf form, especially the werewolf behemoth guy, he has a really long charge attack, and if he goes too far away in the charge out of the area that you fight him in, he will completely reset the entire fight, even if you kill the other werewolves. It is just insufferable, personally. I think this world boss, unless you have a lot of people and they are aware that the boss will fucking charge like that. So maybe as that, like for reasonings on that, it might be a good option to buy this. But do be aware this comes from Solstice, and you'll need that DLC, Greymore for Antiquities, you'll need Wolf Hunter, and you'll need Markar. So it's a very DLC-dense option for this lead. So, for the Mythic itself. The lead itself comes from Solstice and requires Greymore, which you'll have anyway if you want to do leads, because, yeah, West of Skyrim, Antiquities. Yeah, this is definitely one of the few that I would consider from like Overland, where it's like fair enough, because honestly, it is one of my least favorite world bosses that I've ever fought. So yeah, that's saying something. So yeah, if you want to buy that one, fair enough. We've got for the affix or the script, we've got protection, which is pretty good because you can get minor protection for your team with Banner, and you can also get major protection with the Stampede Stampede Grimoire for 10 seconds, so that's a pretty good buff. You've also got disease damage, if you want that. You've also got Assassin's Misery, which just basically, this just applies a bunch of status effects to an enemy. For example, I believe with Wield Soul, it just applies like a group of them. Oh no, you can't even actually get it. Hold on. Is it Anonymous Explosion? Yeah, Assassin. Yeah, so it just applies the 3 elemental status effects when it hits them. They all are a pretty decent chunk of damage, especially on like the public dungeon enemies. But yeah, it's up to you if you want to use that. Gold Coast Treasure Map. This is now a base game zone, though I don't think there's anything that worth it there to get from treasure maps, unless there's like a lead. I can't remember. But yeah, if you're looking for stuff like that, maybe just check this out. Just like look up if there's any leads in Gold Coast for treasure maps. Yeah, this is just what's normally there. So we've got a Leowin counter for the furnishings. We've got a Induril tapestry as well, which is quite nice. We've also got a Redguard pillow. The 6th House Tailor Bell is the one from the public dungeon fragments. This public dungeon is very outdated. It's base game, and it's pretty easy to get these, so I don't think you should bother with that one. Companion equipment is heavy armor, which is interesting because personally, I think heavy armor is probably the most important to get in like high quality, because tanks I think are quite good for companions, and just heavy armor in general. Hyperiox is like kind of endorses this from what I've read from his videos, and I think Hyperiox is a pretty dependable person for like some good shit for dealing with certain content like solo dungeons, in which case like companions are quite handy for that stuff. Companions will stand in stupid. There's no way to heal stupid or like defend against stupid, but heavy armor is like arguably the most reliable for companions to use, because they will take so much damage constantly. Even like damage dealers, Heavy armor with aggressive is decent. Medium's still the best if they can handle it, like if they don't die, but yeah. Heavy armor is probably like one of the best things to get. Especially if you can get like the high, like the good traits like quicken and stuff. But just be aware that, again, you can't sell these, so don't try to make money off of them. The style page is Mother Cyanite. Sorry if I got that wrong, but yeah, this kind of cool, interesting, like, is it Witch Mothers? Or is it the... I'm trying to remember what they're called, like the hags of... the Reach Witches. I think that's what they are. And this comes from, I believe it's Ice Reach. Yep, so Ice Reach, which is a pretty advanced dungeon. Oh yeah, last thing, the Fragment of the Black Moor. Don't buy this. This comes from Shadowfen, from a delve here. This boss is really easy to fight. Does take a while to spawn, again, if you don't get the Fragment the first time, but yeah, it's very easy, and I just don't think it's worth 1,000 fortunes, just because of how it's base game, it's easy, it's just, yeah, I don't think that's worth it. But yeah, it's your call. And then, yeah, obviously we've got just the books left. So I think that's it. If I missed anything, let me know, and I'll just add it there. But yeah, if you have any other questions, or if you have any, if there's anything I got wrong about these sets, or if there's like any stories you have of these sets of like some good times, yeah, I'd love to hear them in the comments and stuff like that. But I'll leave it there for now. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your support as always. I appreciate your time, and yeah, wish everyone a good weekend. Take care for now.